Hey guys, welcome back to One Piece versus 4K episode 2. I'm Ben,
I'm Ram.
and this is a One Piece fan podcast where we compare the One Piece 4Kids dub to the Funimation dub and sometimes sub, as well as throw in comparisons to the manga. So today we're going to be covering episode 2. Um, on my end, it is called Rorona Zolo the Pirate Hunter.
On my end, it's called Enter Swordsman Roronoa Zoro. Enter the Great Swordsman, a pirate hunter Roronoa Zoro.
Okay. All right. So a little bit of a difference there. All right. So I realized last time we didn't even really talk about anything other than this One Piece. Like we didn't even talk about anime in general or like give a brief summary of who we are other than stating our name.
Yeah, fair.
So Um, yeah, I guess I'll get started. If I guess we'll talk about what our first anime was, what our favorite animes are, and
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess, yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so I think, I mean, probably the first anime that I can really remember watching was probably Pokemon. I probably watched that in like fourth grade or something. Um, and then I just started watching Cartoon Network and probably caught Toonami a whole bunch and started watching stuff like Dragon Ball Z, Tenchi, and other stuff such as Outlaw Star and trying to think of any other series that I might have watched starting off.
Did you watch Yu-Gi-Oh?
No, I did watch that later. Um, but yeah, that I think those were the first animes, mainly yeah, mainly.
Did you
Oh, I
did
watched
you watch?
Gundam too. I
Okay, okay,
watched
okay.
Gundam. G Gundam was like the only Gundam that I had watched back then.
Did you watch Digimon?
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Okay, so along with Pokemon, I think the next anime I probably watched was Digimon, and then also around that same time, there was an anime that was airing called Monster Rancher that was also a lot like Digimon and Pokemon. I watched that as well.
Did you watch Sailor Moon?
Yeah, I probably caught a couple episodes of that.
Okay, okay.
Uh, yeah, so
What was
just
your favorite?
my favorite back then. My favorite probably back then was uh, Outlaw Star. I really enjoyed that, and then I really enjoyed Dragon Ball Z as well. But then probably one of the first animes that probably became like one of my all time favorites is Cowboy Bebop. A lot of people probably say that's their favorite, but that's probably one of the anime that really got me into it, as well as Outlaw Star. So yeah, what was your first anime?
So I mean, like you, like I watched Pokemon. The only thing was that so obviously, both me and you were both like around elementary school when all these shows were going on. So when I usually got home, Pokemon was usually ending. I may catch like you know how like Pokemon was separated into two segments, two 15-minute segments.
Yeah,
I may catch the second segment if I'm lucky, when I get out of the school bus, I might be able to get to my apartment, like our home in time to go watch the second segment. But I never really watched the full thing. But um, yeah, Pokemon was something that I think I liked. A lot of people liked. I'd say like the I guess really for me, my first anime was Digimon. Like like Digimon came on right after Pokemon, so. Basically, that's mainly like what I watched all throughout elementary school.
and was you said that was the one where they became Digimon, right? where the
No, I
humans became
watched.
Digimon?
No. I watched
Oh,
all of it from the first season all the way to season 4.
oh wow,
Like,
I didn't realize that.
yeah. I didn't watch season 5
Oh
and
yeah,
after, but like I watched the first 4 seasons. And
wow, okay,
yeah, what's kind of funny is that like so yeah, everybody like Dragon Ball was like so like Digimon wasn't part of the Toonami section, like the
yeah.
cartoon
It
programming.
was on a different channel. I think it was on like Fox.
Yeah. And the thing was that like Dragon Ball was part of Toonami, and for some reason like I never I wasn't allowed to watch Toonami, so like I never really watched Dragon Ball. I think I watched one episode of Dragon Ball, and then like my parents just told me don't watch that again. And for some reason, out of all the promises that I kept with my parents, that's like the one promise to this day I kind of kept. Like besides that one episode, I've never watched Dragon Ball Z.
I guess you can in 2025.
Yeah,
I don't know. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, that's probably not too different from me because my parents would tell me not to watch certain things too, and I would always be like terrified what would happen if they found out I was watching it. I don't know
yeah.
why. I was just always that kind of kid. Like my parents would be like, "Don't you watch this?" And I'd be like, "Okay," and I would just listen. Like my parents told me I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons for
Oh
whatever
wow,
reason.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
really know like nothing at all about that. And then obviously they told me I shouldn't watch like Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those weird things where it's like even though like like we've made other promises that like just silly promises that like we never really kept like they like I'm sure like my parents didn't want me to watch Family Guy, but obviously now I watch Family Guy a lot,
Yeah.
same with like The Simpsons
But
and
even
everything.
so, like by the time Family Guy came out, you were a lot older than when Dragon Ball Z was on, right?
Sort of, yeah. I mean like after it got canceled and brought back, canceled and brought back,
Yeah.
I think I was like old enough. I definitely remember watching a lot more of it around like high school. Um So watched a bit of that. But
Yeah,
so the
yeah, we
thing
should probably
was,
stop mentioning Family Guy.
yeah,
We're talking about anime.
yeah, true. Yeah, true. So yeah, I mean, like, thing was that like so with elementary school, I would get home I think around like 3 o'clock. So that's usually when like Digimon would start. But middle school was kind of weird. We actually got home around 5 o'clock. So I actually didn't watch. So yeah, that's kind of why like Digimon kind of cut off for me, because I came in so late. So then I started watching Yu-Gi-Oh, which started at I think around 5 o'clock or something, and then really, dude, I was really bought into Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, I think me and my friends at the time, like, my friends and I, like, we bought decks. Like, when I started getting an allowance, I would like save that to like go to the store and buy the new deck that they would release that month or something, and then like built in like Yu-Gi-Oh decks and stuff, and have Yu-Gi-Oh matches, and yeah, it was yeah, that's probably one thing I was like really kind of like hooked on like all throughout middle school. It was just Yu-Gi-Oh. I think I watched a couple of seasons of that, and then
Did you ever watch Yu-Gi-Oh when they got to the motorcycles?
no, I don't think I did. I don't know.
I
Um,
don't even remember what that season was called, but I remember one time tuning into it and I was like, "What the hell happened?"
yeah, and then I guess like some of the other I guess like actual anime or whatever if be uh why I watched stuff like Full Metal Alchemist, Attack on Titan. I started watching that. Like I started watching those like right around college was when like I started watching Full Metal Alchemist. And then like eventually like Attack on Titan as it started coming out, I started watching it a little bit more, and then like obviously I'm all in the hype of that. I'm not
When did
caught
you
up with the
start
Attack on
watching One
Titan.
Piece?
So One Piece I also started watching around my final year of college. Like I'd say my the fall, no, the spring on the year before I graduated. So basically, a year before I graduated is when I started watching One Piece. And I think, but when I started watching it, they were like in the 600s in terms of episode count. And it took me about a year to catch up to the first 300 episodes. And then it took me like 4 months to catch up on the remaining 300.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And yeah, I'd say my favorite anime is One Piece. Like it's just the story's just great.
Yeah, I
Especially
mean,
the
I
arc that's
figured
going on right now. Yeah.
after you put in so much to watching all those episodes.
Yeah, no, it's like, oh man, I got hooked. Like it was just something like I saw on the edge of my like list constantly, and then I finally was like, all right, let's watch this, and then I started watching, and then I was just like, it was done.
Yeah,
And then
I actually
this arc
remember when One Piece came on, like when the Four Kids dub was like airing. But I never watched it. I don't know why. I just never. I think I actually, you know what? I think the reason why is I would never be able to catch like an anime right when it aired, like when the first episode aired. So I would just say to myself, I'm not watching it. I don't know what the hell's going on. Either that or I just thought pirates were stupid. I can't remember.
No, I feel you. I mean, this is one of those shows where it's like it's definitely like each it's not one of those shows where it's like each episode it's its own independent thing. It's like a full story, so I can kind of get that. Yeah. Um the thing is like I never remember it ever coming on air when I was young. I've never actually like ran into it. I think I only ran into it when I started watching like more anime in college.
So what would you do on like Saturday mornings?
Saturday mornings, I think the Saturday morning cartoons that I watched were like Batman Beyond, Batman Robin, Justice League. I think those were and then I think I remember watching like Shaolin Showdown and those kind of shows, Static Shock. Those are the kind of shows that I would
Okay,
watch.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I can't remember at what point they would. I know they had like anime mixed in there, but I guess you were just so invested in those shows. Yeah, I watched those as well on in Saturday morning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think Saturday morning cartoons, I mean like like Jackie Chan Adventures and Shaolin Showdown and those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah. uh, I was gonna say Jackie Chan Adventures is an anime, but I doubt it.
No, it's not. It's not.
that's
Yeah.
that's being slightly racist.
Yeah, it's yeah. Nah, it's like just a
but
animated TV show.
but you know what would drive me crazy is they would have stuff that would take they would they would use the anime style that would drive me insane. Like Teen Titans would kind of like use the anime style.
Yeah. I mean it's all animated TV shows in
Yeah.
the end. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Something just seems not genuine about having an American show and then using like the whole anime art style.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's fine. I think like honestly I kind of wish that like um we would have something I mean it's something that I think that's really great about like the whole animation industry in Japan, like how they have like there's like all these like comic book artists who create like these specific different shows and stuff, and then like then maybe like a year or 2 years later, like one of the production companies like Toei would come in and actually animate these cartoons. And it's like a nice little thing because it's like there's like
Yeah.
so many. I kind of wish we'd have that something, but it's also great that there is that Japanese originality in that too. So it's kind of weird, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I never really thought of it like that. It's like with uh like even if you're talking about Batman, the animated series, they didn't follow the comics. They
Yeah,
just
yeah,
randomly made up their own stories each time. So that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think the I think the only thing that ever has like kind of followed the comics is some of those like new like recent DC movies. But even then they like really like adapt different things.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's just like there's so much source material for for the DC animated TV shows and Marvel stuff that they just kind of like pick. They just kind of like pick a compilation of different stories and they'll just kind of put it into this.
Yeah.
And then it's just, man, DC and Marvel kind of dominates like the comic industry or like, the comic animated TV show thing here in the US. But like, I just kind of wish that there would be like more kind of like more different kinds of like comics and stuff that they would adapt into like that, kind of like that. But, I like the originality over there too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that's a good introduction.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah.
okay. So I guess I'll start with the summary of the episode. So I'll
Or should I maybe
oh,
start
yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah. Yeah, you go ahead and talk about the yeah, what happened in the manga that the manga, yeah.
yeah. So I guess I should first say that this isn't the first episode of the anime isn't the first chapter in the manga. The first chapter actually has some stuff that's actually referenced in the later episodes, but I'll kind of like reference back to it when we get to that. But the where the anime starts is actually in the second chapter. And so basically off the bat, um, there are some similarities. Basically, Luffy he's basically about to get sucked into this whirlpool, and then he kind of gets into a barrel, and basically the barrel kind of gets in the whirlpool, and then it actually lands on an island somewhere. Like it's on unknown island.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah, it's not on a cruise ship like it was in the first episode of the anime. So that's one thing. And yeah, so it kind of follows a similar thing. Basically, the barrel basically washes up on this kind of like this unknown island, and that unknown island is occupied by the basically by Alvida's pirates, and basically kind of like similar to what happened in the anime. Like Alvida says, "Hey Kobe, who's the most prettiest pirate, female in the East Blue," and Kobe's like, actually the entire crew's like, "It's you, Alvida." And then yeah, they kind of get dismissed. And then Kobe finds this barrel just out in the beach, and he starts rolling it. And then, similar to the anime, three of the other crew members spot him rolling this huge barrel. And as they were about to open it, Luffy pops out. And so yeah, a lot of similarities in that it doesn't take place in a cruise ship. It actually takes place in an island. And yeah, basically, Luffy says what he wants to do. He wants to be the king of the pirates. Kobe says he wants to kind of get away and like join the Marines. And then, Luffy goes ahead and like beats up the crew, similar to what we see in the anime. He beats them up. He reveals that he has like rubber fruit ability, and then he beats them up. And once he beats them up, uh, they just Kobe and Luffy then take a small boat, and then head off. And they talk about how like uh, Roronoa Zolo is, and this is the English translation. They take like a small boat to go to the naval, basically the naval base where Roronoa Zolo is held. So I guess like the big difference between the manga and the anime is that one, it's on an island instead of a cruise. And the other thing is that that red girl that we see in the first episode in the anime, she doesn't appear in the
Wow.
manga at all. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh so that's if you didn't hear episode 1, I guess that's a good recap too.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah. Yeah.
anyways, so at the beginning of the the Four Kids dub, it starts out with Colby and Luffy sailing to the naval base island to free Zolo. Uh, as soon as they arrive at the island, Luffy just says, he's talking with Kobe, and he says, you know, uh, where are they keeping Zolo? He just asks, says it out loud, and all of a sudden everybody in the town cowers, and they're like all scared. Um, and they just walk along, and they come to a wall, and they look over it, and they see some man tied up to like a pole, I guess, of some sorts. And yeah, and obviously you put two and two together, and you realize that that's Zolo. And all of a sudden, while they're looking over, some little girl shows up, hops over the wall, and gives Zolo some cookies. Um, then some Navy captain walks in and grabs the cookies and spits them and tries to eat them and spits them out in disgust. And then you find out uh, that guy that comes in is the son of Captain Morgan. Um, and he decides to have the guards toss that little girl over the fence. Um, what is really weird that I noticed is, I mean, maybe I missed it, but I don't think they ever say this guy's name. Do they?
The guy, the leader of that, the guy who's like dressed up,
Yeah,
who's they do, at least in the Funimation dub, they do later in the episode.
they might have said it, but like they didn't really like. It's just weird that they all of a sudden, you realize that he's the son of Captain Morgan, where they don't know his name. Um, so, anyways, after that happens, after he throws that little girl over the wall, Solo says it's cruel, and uh, Captain Morgan's son mentions that he'll be stuck over there for about 10 more days. Um, so then he just walks off, and Zolo asks Luffy to hand over the cookies that were smashed on the ground. So Luffy hands them over, and he eats them. And then the girl shows back, or he basically later on, you see Luffy talking to the little girl, and he mentions that he liked the cookies or whatever. And then we find out that Zolo went to prison for taking up the little girl's sentence because this dog that the captain's son's dog like comes into their restaurant and is like messing stuff up, and she like hits the dog, and the dog runs out. And yeah, they're gonna put her in prison, and he says that that he'll go to prison for her. And so all of a sudden, while you find out all that stuff, Captain Morgan's son shows up and demands that they bring him some juice. I thought that was funny because I doubt it's going to be juice in the Funimation dub. And then Luffy's there and just punches him in the face, and we find out that Zolo is going to be executed tomorrow. So then Luffy shows up to save him, and he tells Zolo about it, and he asks him to join his pirate team. And Zolo is really hesitant, and Luffy says, "Well, I can go get your sword." And he says, "Okay, if you can go get my sword." So next it cuts to Captain Morgan. First time we see him, and we see him slapping his son and demanding that the little girl be executed for trying to help Zolo. And he's, while he's evil, he's like, "We can't execute the little girl." And he's just like, "How dare you?" And Um, so he's still looking. So then it cuts back to Luffy. He's looking for the sword, and then he hears like a fuss over them arguing and like erecting a giant Captain Morgan statue, and he jumps up there and accidentally knocks it down. And next thing we know, and let's see. Okay. So then next thing that happens is for some odd then it cuts to that red-headed pirate girl that we saw last episode. You see her like sneaking past something, and that's like the only time I noticed that she was in the episode. Um and then we see Colby uh telling Zolo that he has to he basically unties him and says he has to go help Luffy, and all of a sudden, Luffy walks into the captain's son's room. He has already at this time caught him in the hallway and beaten him up, and he's pretty much knocked out. And he's asking him where the sword is when he's in the room, and like because there's like three swords in the room, so he doesn't know which one it is. So he ends up grabbing them all, and then Captain Morgan shows up and is about to execute Zolo when Luffy shows up and blocks the bullets. And that's pretty much all I have for the summary.
Okay. I guess I'll go with what I saw in the Funimation dub. So similar to what you said, Luffy and Kobe arrive at the naval base island, and once Luffy kind of just buys like I think like a pair, he kind of asks one of them like he asks the person he bought the pair from like where is Roronoa Zoro, and then everybody kind of cowers when he kind of mentions his name. And Kobe says you can't be saying his name out loud out in the streets and stuff. And then they kind of continue to walk, and then Kobe mentions that like the captain of this base is Captain Morgan, and then when he says Captain Morgan, everybody else cowers at the
Yeah,
sound of his name too.
same thing happens on this one.
Yeah. And then yeah, so they walk up to the wall of well, they walk up to the entrance of the naval base, and basically Kobe's like looks like this is it. Like they're gonna go in their separate ways because Kobe's gonna join the Marines, and then Luffy's obviously gonna go off into his adventure. And but Kobe says he's not quite ready yet. And then while he says that, Luffy kind of like starts to like climb up the wall, and he sees Zoro out in the field. And then he's like, "You're crazy, Luffy. It can't be him. Zoro's probably like locked in some jail cell somewhere." And so then Kobe kind of like looks over the wall too, and then he sees that it's actually Zoro, like kind of tied to like basically yeah he's tied to some bar or something.
Yeah.
And then Zoro basically yells at them, "Hey, get out of here! You guys are an eyesore or something." And then we see this little girl come like basically jump over the wall, and she goes to Zoro, and then she's like, "Hey, I made some rice balls for you."
Okay.
And then he offers him the he offer she offers Zoro the rice balls, but he's like, "Hey, get out of here! I won't eat it." And then Helmeppo comes over, or sorry, the we find out his name later on in Helmeppo, but basically basically you see like this navy these Marines just kind of coming in. These Marines and I guess like their leader, they walk in, and he's like, "Hey, little girl, is that rice ball for me?" And then he takes the rice ball. He takes a piece of the rice ball. Then he's like, "Ah, it's sweet." Or he says rice balls are supposed to have salt in it, not sugar. And then the little girl's like, "I put sugar in mine because I like sweet things or whatever." And then he then throws the rice balls on the ground, and then he starts stomping on the rice balls, and the girl's like all sad and stuff. And then he tells the guard to throw her over the wall. And the guard kind of like says but then he just tells the little girl to kind of curl up in a ball, and then he throws her out, but then like Luffy catches her, and then like they make sure that he's okay.
Yeah.
And then we kind of find out that like Zoro has like 10 more days to kind of like survive some ordeal. And yeah, so we find out that Zoro has 10 days left in some month-long challenge. And then yeah, so then while Luffy and Kobe make sure that the girl's okay, uh when Kobe isn't looking, Luffy goes over the wall and talks to Zoro. Zoro tells him to throw him the rice balls that are on the ground. And then Luffy does that. He eats it. And then he says that, tell the girl that it tasted good. And then we go off into the next scene where the girl and Kobe and Luffy are in front of, I guess, like their shop. Find out the girl's name is Rika, and this is where we find out that the mean guy, the leader, his name is Helmeppo, and he's actually Captain Morgan's son.
Okay.
And it turns out that basically Helmeppo was terrorizing the town with his dog, and the dog basically ran into their restaurant, and it was about to attack Rika, the little girl. And when it was about to, Zoro throws a chair at the dog and knocks it down. And then Helmeppo tries to attack Zoro, but he like beats him up. And then Helmeppo threatens that if he gets hurt, Captain Morgan would execute Rika and her mom, but said that if Zoro is tied up for 1 month at the base, all three will live. And basically, it's been 3 weeks since that incident, which is why like Zoro says he has 10 more days remaining. And then, right as Rika is telling that story, Helmeppo is causing chaos in the restaurant, in her family's restaurant.
Yeah.
And in that scene, we actually see the red haired girl in the background.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
She kind of
I
just
think
looks over.
I think that happened too. Yeah, I forgot that detail. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And basically, he's like, "Hey, yeah, bring me food." He basically tells the owner of the restaurant, "Bring me food and stuff." She brings out like a cup of wine. She pours out like wine in like a glass, and then yeah, he basically threatens to execute Zoro. And when Luffy sees that and hears that, he gets angry, and then he punches Helmeppo, and then he tells Kobe that he decided that Zoro will be in his crew. And then we kind of then cut to Captain Morgan, and he's a bit of a narcissist. He's like, "Hey, I'm so great," and then his subordinate's like, "Yeah, you were so great." And then like Morgan's like, "Then why are these tributes from the town so low?" And then Helmeppo kind of comes in and tells him he needs his dad to execute someone. Then we kind of cut to Zoro, and he starts having this flashback to basically like when he was like a younger guy, and he's seen like fighting with this blue-haired girl, and he gets beat. Then we find out he made a promise to her. Then he wakes up, and then Luffy is there. He says he'll untie Zoro if he joins his pirate crew, and Zoro resists, saying that he doesn't want to join criminals. And he says he wouldn't bring himself down to that level. Luffy then tells Zoro that like he basically tells him, "You're gonna be part of my crew." And Zoro's like, "You can't make that decision." He just kind of like says it in like, "Oh man, you can't just decide that." Then he says he'll go get his swords, and then Luffy starts running in one direction, and then Zoro points him into the other. He basically points him to the right direction. Now, this is actually something I wanted to point out, that he points him into the right direction, and uh, yeah, I guess like in later episodes we'll see why I'm pointing this out directly right now. Why I'm emphasizing that he points him in the right direction. In later episodes, you'll see why.
Okay.
Then we kind of cut to Captain Morgan at the roof of the base, having like all the Marines hoist this statue of him, and then he tells Helmeppo like he doesn't deem him worthy enough to beat him or anything,
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
he's not that special, yeah.
Yeah.
And he said he heard the other day, a little rat entered the yard, referencing that little girl. Helmeppo said he threw her, he had her thrown out. And then Captain Morgan's like he wanted her killed. He tells one of the Marines to go kill that girl, but the Marine refuses, and Morgan kind of smashes him. And then Helmeppo's like, "You don't have to kill him." And
Hmm.
then Morgan says title matters, and he's the captain of the Marines, and everything he does is the right move. Then we kind of switch to Luffy. He's kind of like looking for the entrance, but it seems like no one's there. So then he hears the commotion at the roof. So then he launches himself to the roof, but he overshoots it. He grabs the rope that to kind of like sail down into the roof, and then he accidentally like knocks over the statue, and the half of the statue falls all the way to the ground. Morgan gets mad and he wants to kill Luffy. And then Luffy then spots Helmeppo and then takes him to go find Zoro's sword. Then we see the red haired girl in the base. We don't quite know what she's doing, but in the Funimation dub, this is the first time we actually see her talk.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I forget what she exactly says, but she says something because she sees like a lot of commotion going around with like the Navy and stuff. And then Helmeppo basically says the swords are in his room. And then the Marines kind of catch up to Luffy and Helmeppo and point guns at Luffy, saying, "Hey, drop Helmeppo." And he's like, "No." And then he uses Helmeppo as like a shield, saying he basically uses him as like a shield so that the guards won't shoot at him.
Hmm.
We then get to his room where he spots the three swords, but uh, by the time he asks Helmeppo um, which sword it is, like Helmeppo's like all knocked out. And then while that's going on, outside Kobe is like untying Zoro, and then he's telling Zoro about how he doesn't think the Marines should be this dishonorable, and then he tells Zoro that basically Helmeppo said he was going to execute Zoro the next day, and how Luffy got angry when he heard that. So then he decided that um, Luffy decided that Zoro was going to be part of his crew, and then Kobe basically tells Zoro he needs you and you need him. You guys are both strong, and you guys can get each other out of this. Basically, escape the island and escape this captivity. And then the soldiers all kind of get down, and they're about to shoot Kobe and Zoro with Captain Morgan there. And then just as he was about to do that, Luffy then jumps out, basically springs out of the window and in front of the bullets. He then catches all the bullets and then deflects them. And yeah, that's
Okay.
basically where it ended. He basically said, Zoro's like, "Hey, who are you?" He says, "I'm Monkey D. Luffy, and I'm gonna be king of the pirates." And then that's it.
Yep. Okay. So it seems
Um,
pretty similar.
yeah, I guess like they replaced a rice ball with cookies.
Yeah, and I seem to remember he was spitting it out because he might have said it was like salty.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
Or maybe he
Um,
actually says it's too sweet or something like that, too much sugar or something.
like, what did the cookie kind of look like? Did it look like a rice cake cookie or like?
No, it just looked like a chocolate chip cookie. Um,
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
but it's kind of funny because when it was like mashed on the ground, it honestly kind of looked like rice. Like it
Yeah,
was mashed on the ground like how you would mash rice. Like it wouldn't make sense. Like it would be like all in crumbles, and like somehow Luffy's able to like pick it up like easily, and it's like in one piece.
yeah, 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 yeah. How did Captain Morgan look? How did he look? Like, describe his features.
Uh, I mean, he has like something over his face, right? And
Yeah, he has like a little.
he has a he has like a missing hand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wait, wait, wait. Does he have an axe for one of his hands?
Uh oh no, he doesn't.
What does
It's
he
just like
have?
a peg.
It's a peg, like just like
Oh no, no, he does have an axe for his hand. Sorry, yeah, he does.
Oh,
He
okay,
does.
okay, okay, okay. Okay, I was
Yeah.
actually wondering if that was one of the first things that kind of gets replaced. Although
No,
I
he
mean,
has an
there's
axe. And I mean, and
yeah,
they are talking about executing, so I mean, it's not like that much of censorship so
yeah, I
far.
was kind of surprised. Yeah, when you said that he also said execute them in the Four Kids one as well. I was just like, oh wow. I thought they would kind of like censor that a little bit. But like, yeah, I guess like one of the other differences is that like, you mentioned he asked for like a glass of juice, in Four
Yeah.
Kids, and then in the regular Funimation dub, it's like actually like a glass of wine. So I
Does he
guess they're,
specifically say wine or
I forget. Like I just remember like him ask. He's basically like having his foot on top of the table with his
yeah,
foot on some of the food, and then he was basically like, "Hey, just give me food and drinks or such." And then like, he has like a clear glass, and like some wine is poured into that glass.
got it.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess that's where it is. I actually did read the chapters that's associated with this episode too.
Okay. So what was different?
So okay, so the chapters that kind of encompass like this episode is between chapter 3 and chapter 5.
Uh-huh.
Basically 3, 4, 5 basically makes up episode 2. And there are some. I mean, one, it's they reference him as Aurora Noah Zolo. Uh, Same thing. One thing that is a little weird is that they flipped two scenes. So basically, at the beginning in the anime, we see like Luffy and Kobe walking out talking about Zoro and Morgan, right?
Hmm.
That scene actually takes place inside the restaurant. Um, and then so basically yeah, like it's like they arrive at the island. They're like, hey, we got here. Hey, Colby, you have great skills. He's like, yeah, every sailor should have these kind of minimum skills. And then they go to a restaurant and they're eating at the restaurant and they mention Rono Zoro's name, and then everybody in the
Yeah.
restaurant kind of freaks out. And then Kobe mentions Captain Morgan's name, and then everybody freaks out again. And then Luffy's like, "Wow, that's a funny restaurant. I want to go back there again."
Do
And
you see the
then,
girl at the restaurant? The little girl?
no, no,
Oh,
not
okay.
yet.
Got it.
So then in the manga, they go off to the naval base, and then Luffy peers over the the wall and he looks at Zoro, and then Zoro, he's like, "Hey kid, come over here and untie me. I've been here for 10 days." So in the manga, it's he's actually only been there like 9 to 10 days. It hasn't even been like 20 days.
Oh,
It's only been 9 to 10 days.
got it. But
Um,
I don't remember him. Does he doesn't even say to in the anime? Does he ask them to untie him?
no, 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 no,
Yeah.
not in
Okay.
this anime
Yeah.
too. It's just in the manga. He's like,
Weird.
"Hey, come and tie me," and
Okay.
he's like, "If you untie me, then we'll go find someone with a big bounty, and then I can pay you that bounty and
Got
stuff
it.
and stuff." And then the little girl kind of comes in, and then it's kind of similar to the anime. Like the girl has rice balls, and then Helmeppo comes in, similar to the anime. He takes a bite out of the rice ball. He hates it, stomps on it. Then Luffy comes over and then like feeds him the rice ball and stuff, and then tries to recruit him into his pirate group. And then here's the funny part, right? So now like they're at the restaurant in the anime, but in the manga they're now in the street kind of talking about
Oh
this.
wow. And then
So
they bring up the dog situation.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of flipped.
Yeah.
That part was kind of flipped a little bit. And the thing was that in the manga, like they overhear that Helmeppo says he's going to execute him in 3 days. not the next day, but 3 days from now.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And then yeah, so then we go back, um and then Zoro doesn't have that flashback just yet. I think it was right as, I mean, a lot of the next sequence of events are pretty similar to the anime. Basically, um, Luffy goes in, tells Zoro, "Hey, you're gonna be part of my crew," and then he starts to untie him, and then he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go get your swords, and you're gonna be part of my crew." And then Kobe comes in to kind of say that, and when the Marines kind of have their rifles pointed at him, he basically says, "Hey, I can't die here. I made a promise." And then we go into his flashback, and the flashback is actually a lot more like there's actually more details in the manga flashback compared to the anime.
Mm,
Um, and and yeah, we'll actually kind of see this in like a much later episode. We'll actually see the full Zoro backstory flashback in like another episode. So I'll kind of hold off on that. But yeah, just that like the full flashback actually happens like early on. I think in chapter 4, chapter 5, or something like that. So yeah, it's not quite just 1, 2 scenes of the little girl and like him making a promise. It's actually like a full-fledged, you see more details into how that promise came to be and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of later on. But yeah, basically, as Kobe is kind of untying Zoro, he says, "Hey, they're actually gonna execute you in 3 days and stuff." And so yeah, those were kind of some of the differences between the anime and the manga.
got it. Some interesting changes. Yeah, this episode there was so much that was happening. Like it was just like back to back. I could see how like this was like three the whole chapters of the manga, right?
Well, so there is a yeah. I mean, for this one episode, yeah, there was like 3 chapters worth. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just trying to come up with a summary and write everything that was happening. It was a lot more that was actually happening in this one than the first episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess like one thing I kind of mentioned is similar to the first episode. Second episode, like yeah, the red hair girl, she still doesn't show up in the manga chapters just yet.
Wow,
Yeah, the red hair girl is just kind of still added in there. But yeah, she doesn't show up in the manga just yet.
interesting.
Yeah. I was actually and one other thing, when basically, in the roof scene where Captain Morgan's like telling that Marine to go kill that little girl and the Marine refuses. So in the anime, he like smashes him, but like in the manga, he actually uses his axe and slices him.
Oh wow.
And yeah, um, so I just kind of wonder if it's one of those like censorship, or yeah, could be censorship thing that they didn't want to show like that kind of that level of
Yeah, not even in
yeah.
Japan, huh?
I guess not.
Wow.
This is actually something we see in the current Wano arc. Like there is this one scene in the Wano arc, basically, like Luffy and them, they basically like bring in all this like basically there's this one town that they're in that's kind of deprived, like they have very scarce food and stuff, and so they bring in a lot of, and there's this one scene that is like it was too graphic or it was too morbid to be in the actual live action anime, that like what you see in the manga is different from what they show in the anime. Like yeah, there are certain things
Yeah.
like yeah like
I
yeah
guess they have no problem talking about the things. It's just like showing them.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's
Yeah.
it's not quite like when you watch the anime, you don't know that it's, I guess, like, do you think I should just kind of tell you what it is, because it's a bit graphic.
No.
Okay. But yeah, it is something. I mean, it's a little sensitive, but like um yeah, it's just, yeah, so I can kind of see, I guess, like that could be one of the reasons why they like censored the slash in the manga to the like smack in the anime.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I guess those are the kind of differences. But I am kind of surprised that they kept the axe um in his hand.
Yeah. I mean, they'll probably just cut like they'll probably whenever he's using it, they're not going to show it in like detail probably.
Yeah, true. True, true. Yeah, I guess like the main differences that we see besides their sound, like
Just
just
some
Captain
really
Morgan.
stupid localization stuff like rice balls and juice.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. Yeah, so far, yeah, that's what it is.
What were
But
you going to ask about Captain Morgan?
I guess like what was his tone like? Like
I
did
mean,
they
he
give him
seemed
like a
like a
special
really
accent?
evil dude. Uh, I don't. His accent wasn't like didn't like really stand out as like honestly everyone sounds fine like their voices. It nothing was as bad as the country accent of Elvita.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Okay.
honestly, like the as far as like the voice acting and the dub goes so far, it hasn't been bad. Like I've seen some animes like I started trying to watch the Rurouni Kenshin anime, and some of the dub in that is like terrible. Like one of the
Okay.
girls, her voice is like so high pitched, like it's just like it's hard to watch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I haven't
Um,
seen anything that's like really bad about this, like about like the at least in episode 2 about how the characters are voiced.
okay. Yeah, I did hear that like a lot of the people who kind of watched, but they really did like the four kids. Like the person who dubs Zoro's or Zolo's voice
Uh
in
huh.
Four Kids. I heard like a lot of people actually like really liked that dubbing. Like they actually liked the voice actor that they used for Zoro in the Four Kids one. I mean, in Funimation, the voice actor for that is good too. But like apparently, a lot of people really like the voice actor that they used in the Four Kids for Zoro too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I
yeah,
think that is it for episode 2 here.
yeah.
Uh, I guess everyone join us next week for episode 3.
Yep.
Um, let me go ahead and open up this email again. If you guys want, you can comment in the YouTube video on what you think about the differences. And if you want to send us an email, you can do so at one piece versus 4K at gmail.com. If we get any emails or any interesting comments on our videos, we'll use this time at the end to read them and respond.
Is it one kids versus 4K as in VS or is
No,
it
so
versus as
it's
in
One Piece versus 4K altogether.
like is versus like VS or actual VERSUS?
No, VS. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Just
one
VS.
One
Yeah.
Piece VS 4K at
Okay.
gmail.com. Yep. Or you can comment in our YouTube video. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody, or listening. I mean, if you're watching, you're just staring at a thumbnail the whole time. But yeah, thank you guys, and we will hear from you next episode.
Right.
All right,
Cool.
bye.